Hello developers. And in this video, we're going to start a project using the PETAL stack. I'm gonna go through the process of setting up Tailwind and Alpine and removing the CSS related to Phoenix. And then we're going to create a very simple project, but we're gonna be using like PJAX hooks and pushing events from the socket to the JavaScript so that we have a better idea and how we can update the socket while we push some handle event to our WebSocket. Well done, so let's get started after the intro. So what we're gonna be doing is like mix pjx-new. This is gonna be PETAL project. Whoops, PETAL project / live. So let's fetch our dependencies. So let's link our project. So let's go for PETAL project. Let's do a git init, git add --all, git commit, sign message initial commit, as is usual for us. So what we are going to be following is the tutorial from the Pragmatic Studio for setting up Tailwind. So let's do that. So let's go to assets. The first thing that we will be doing is installing Tailwind. So let's grab this comment here and let's run this comment here in the assets folder. So there we go. We installed Phoenix. The next thing is going to create this post CSS config. So being post CSS config. Let's paste it here. That's fine. Next, we need to change this thing into our webpack. So let's grab this array here. Let's go for webpack. We need to change this thing here. Whoops, I did not grab it. There we go. I think I just need to reformat this thing here. And I think this could be once again. Actually, I'm gonna install here the aslint, so aslint init. I'm gonna fix syntax problems, none of these, no. Browser, popular style guide, I'm gonna do the standard one with JavaScript. Yes. There we have it. We installed the Alpine, the aslint. So if I go once again, go to the webpack, and if I save, it should reformat and pop some stuff. Okay, I think we're good. So now let's continue. We need to do npx tailwind init. So we started our tailwind config file. I'm gonna update the purge. So let's open nvim tailwind config.js. I'm gonna update the purge. I think we're good to go. The next thing we need to change is the deploy script on the package JSON. So let me paste this thing here. Okay, now we can add Tailwind components. So let's go for the app.step.css. I'm gonna paste this thing here. I'm gonna remove the Phoenix. Really, I think I can come here and delete the Phoenix one. So delete. There we go. Now we can test our Tailwind if this thing is working. But prior to that, let me go to the root.html and let me remove most of this thing here, the header section. Then I'm going to remove this container class. Then on the app.lab, I'm going to remove the container class as well. On the page live, I'm going to remove most of the boilerplate code that we have here. The only thing that we're going to have is OK socket. And here as well, let's remove everything here. So now we can grab once again this code here and paste it here. We can start our application. And we need to do a mix ecto dot reset. It's going to drop, create, and stuff. Okay, now we can start our application. And if we go to localhost 4000, there we go. But for some reason, why I did something wrong, or it should have gave me Oops, that it was just like taking some time to load. So there we go. We have our Tailwind CSS configuration. But let's actually continue configuration so that we can use some like this import, these custom imports. So next I'm gonna create is this thing here. I'm going to app.scss. Here I'm gonna paste this one in the, whoops, I did not copy. Okay, now we're gonna have components and button dot. Let me change this to scss. Let's create components here. Let's go for buttons.scss. And we're gonna put that btn indigo here because we can do it later. To make this thing work, we need to install this dependency here. So let's install it. Assets, and let's install this dependency. While it's downloading and stuff, we can grab this line here. Now we can go to this is on the post css config.js, and we can paste this one here. Looks like our linter is not, oh yeah, there we go. Now it's working. And now we need to change this thing here in our app.scss. And I think we're good to go. If we go back to our page live.html, and we can create now a button saying hello with the class receiving, the name was btn indigo with this class here. And we can then paste it here. And if we go back to our application, for some reason why it's not working, maybe we need to, whoops, I think I did something wrong. There was an error there, but now let's wait for it to see if something pops up. I don't think so. There we go. So we can now create files to hold our CSS config files if we ever want to. Okay, so now let's do git commit -sm. This is gonna be setting up Tailwind. Oops, git asm. We're gonna do the asm is an alias that I created for adding and committing. So adding Tailwind to the project. There we go. Status, we don't have nothing here. Next thing we're going to be doing is installing Alpine Js, and we're going to be following this tutorial here on the Phoenix Live View document. So let's go to assets, and then let's do npm install Alpine Js. Okay, I think we're good. So we can go for app.js. Let's save once so that everything stops complaining. Import Alpine Js, and then we need to put this thing here after param. So let me put this thing here. Let me put this one here. Now we create a comma and DOM. I think on this one here. We can then paste and save. There we go. I think we should have Alpine JS installed right now. Let's test this thing with, I'm gonna test this one. Actually, I'm not very good with Alpine and Tailwind, but there, let's try it. So page live.html, let's create here a div, and let's put this thing inside, and let's put an x show false. I think this one is good. Maybe I need to install the console. What's this? Yeah, I don't think that we need to start our application server. So let's go back and yeah, I think we need to create actually x-model. There we go. I have pasted this code here at the bottom here. Just be sure that we have Alpine working, and as you can see, we have like Alpine working because it should paste like just Mario, and because it ran this init, it's gonna post now Mario Giron. Actually, I got this from a tutorial here on YouTube. I think it's called 10-minute coding. It's a guy from Argentina, if I'm not mistaken. It's a pretty good tutorial. I don't know how to speak Spanish, so even though I don't, it's fairly easy to understand the tutorial. So there we go. Now we have Alpine and Tailwind installed. So let me remove this thing here, remove this thing here. Let's go for git add added Alpine Js. Okay, there we go. We have now Alpine and Tailwind. So I'm going to create like a very basic application. And for that, I'm going to first create a form at the top. And let's go for it. Page live. And I'm going to do the best of my skills of copying and codes that I already put in another folder here so that we have like a general view of how it's going to work. But my approach in the truth was like this. I went this here for Tailwind components. And then I grabbed here a navbar, which I don't know which one is it, but I searched for components here. I think we have like navigation, and we can search for a pretty simple navbar, but I'm going to paste my navbar there. Okay, so let's try to do this in a step-by-step approach. So this thing's gonna have a header. Okay, and the classes that I'm gonna have here are gonna be flex. So now I have display flex. This is a height of 20, which is, if I'm not mistaken, 20 is, oops, it's the one above, 5 rem, so I think we're good. And it's going to be a background indigo 5000. Let's go back in our application now and go here. We should already have our navbar here at the top. Okay. Next thing that we're going to be putting here on this navbar is a form component. So let's go for form. Let's grab in the Elixir tag. F is gonna receive this form for. We are gonna be doing this for a change set. Oh, it's not gonna work with with schemaless change sets. It is actually some nice skill to have. We're gonna be posting this to no route, and after submit, we're gonna hit the phx underscore submit. We are gonna hit the event add to chart because we're gonna have like using chart.js soon enough. Okay, so let's create a form here. Let's close our form, and I think we're good to go. So we can now create a label for F, and the name of this label is gonna be name, and we're gonna have a class of text white. Okay, so let's wrap in the tag and let's check for form 4. We'll have change set for the moment. Let's put this thing as chart. I think we're good. And there we go. We have the name over there. And the next thing that we are gonna be using here. Okay. The class have, okay. So this thing is gonna have, actually this is widthful, and it's have a margin top of 4. I put this thing should be on the form here. Okay, and now this thing should be text white. Now let's create our input. So this is gonna be text input for F, and we are going to give this this is gonna be for our label that we're gonna be using later. And we're gonna have like a BG white, and we're gonna have a rounded I think something broke here. Recompile. BG white and rounded large. Let's see how we got it. Okay, there we have a form over there. And let's do the same thing for now. It's gonna be quality. Class again, text, this is gonna be the label value. And last but not least, we're gonna have a submit. which is gonna be calling save with capital S. The classes px6, py2, and then we're gonna be putting font bold, text white as well, border blue 7000, and rounded large. Let's check. We have, I think, the BG. For some reason why we would have like, let's put BG here for the moment, BG dash blue 700, so that it stands a little bit out. Okay, I think we're good. We have a form. If we click now on this save event, we're going to receive some error here in our console saying that we don't deal with this add card to the in the socket in the page live. So let's add this thing right now. So let's go back here and create a new event here. So handle event. This is gonna call add to cart. I think very good. Can actually print our params here, and so that just to know what we are receiving. So if I click here, I put like Eduardo. Oops, what I did wrong there. Name, text, input, I think we're good. Why is not this allowing me to type? Oops. Oh yeah. So text white. Let's remove this thing here. Let's remove this thing here. And once again, Eduardo. And this is gonna be a quality of 12. Let's save. And if we check our console, we receive this thing here. So let's leave for the moment. Just be sure that you're not receiving any errors. The next thing that we'll be doing is going to create table here at the bottom. So let's create another table. So div, we're gonna have actually the class that I want is flex and px96. We have a lot of padding. Now we are gonna be adding, we're gonna be using width 2/3, so it's gonna be another div. Whoops, with the class is gonna be w-2/3. I don't know if the emmet's gonna allow me to do that. It did not allow me to, so let's go continue from here. We're gonna have a margin X auto and a shadow MD. And this is gonna hold another D for us, which is gonna have the classes class. We're gonna go for margin Y6, background white, rounded, and I took this thing in the wrong position, so this one should be here, and this one should be MT6. And now I think we have anything inside. We can go for our table. So our table class, the class of our table will be width full, text dash left, border collapse. This is gonna be border collapse. I'm not sure why we're doing this, but I know that doesn't work. Doesn't work on this side, but new versions. Okay, we're gonna have this because that's what I got from one of those components. And I think for this thing I can just copy and paste, because we in the end I'm just gonna like be typing each of these things here. So I'm gonna grab this table here and paste for you guys. And there we go. That's our table. And as you can see, we are just gonna be iterating through the table data, which we're gonna create soon enough. I think this is gonna throw us a problem. So let's go for any table live, and on the mount here, we're gonna be assign socket. So it's gonna be table data. I'm gonna pass in an empty array, and this is gonna go out for chart data. And there we go. We have our nice table there with no rows and nothing. For the actually starting of our data, I'm gonna like hard code some events here. This should be pushed from a database, but we are gonna be using like just for we have some visual data. So I'm gonna create that the labels are gonna be these ones that I have previously selected. These are from characters from Pulp Fiction. We have Julius, Marcellus Wallace, Spiga. We can then grab some values and background colors. I'm gonna paste this thing once again because it's not very important for general view of our application. And for the table data, it's gonna be for the chart data. Sorry, we're gonna be creating. Actually, first we're gonna create table data. Okay, that's the point where we're gonna be triggering some PHX hooks. For those wondering where we put the PHX hooks, if we go here and check our page live, we can go for a hook. And on this canvas here, which is this element here, I have wrapped with this PGX hook called pie chart. And for this pie chart to work with this chart data, which right now we don't have, we first need to add the chart.js to our project. So let's go in here for the assets. Let's npm install chart.js. It's actually pretty simple. Now we are going to go back here and add the necessary elements for our project. So we're going to first go into our app.js. We're going to create here, actually we're going to be inputting, let me check here. We're going to import hooks from a file called hooks that we're going to define right now. So let me create here another file called hook, I think it's hooks.js. Okay, and inside the hooks.js, we are going to import our pie chart from another file that we not created yet, but we're going to create soon enough. It's called, as you might guess, pie chart.js. We're going to create here an object called hooks. And in the end, we're going to be export default these hooks. And we can then create our pie chart.js here. And looks like we can now, pie chart. Is it clear by never used? I think it's fine. We can comment this line for the moment. And on the app, I think we can then create another key here for hooks. It's going to receive our hooks. There we go. That's the way how you send hooks in a Phoenix Live application. So let's go for our pie chart. I'm gonna do the same thing as copies because it's actually pretty. Let's go and create this thing by hand. So we're gonna import the chart from chart.js that we just installed. Then we're gonna create a class called pie chart. For this class, we're gonna have a constructor, which is gonna receive the context, which we are, the labels, the values, and the background colors. Okay, and then this constructor is gonna return this chart, and this is gonna call us for the new chart from the chart.js. We're gonna be passing the context, which is gonna be passing from our hook, and this thing is going to return for us. If you go here and check for chart JS, we can go here and we can search for get started. I think we can get the donut and pie, and basically what we're gonna be grabbing is this is for the pie chart, so we're gonna be grabbing this thing here, and we're gonna be pasting here. So we have type, data, and options, but the data, we have an example here at the bottom of what's the type of data that we can put there. So let's put this data here. I think very good. And What's happening here? Here, and options. And I don't think we need options, so we can paste like this. And what's the problem there? There, close that one. And now we need another thing to close this one here, and we don't need this one. And then we are gonna grab that one, and then we can click. That was the problem. Yeah, I hate this thing here. So let's fix this code here. So now we have this one. That one close over there. This one close over there. This one closes there. Then we should have like this. I think then we're good. Then we need to close that one over there, and then we can close that one. What is this one here? This one here, and this one's closing that one. So this one should be here. Damn it, I'm gonna grab this one here because it's making me pissed. Okay, so there we go. Same thing as we have, but now for our data sets, we're gonna be receiving the values from these values here, our background color from this background color here. And one last thing that we are gonna be creating is another function which ends here. And we're gonna be adding an endpoint for this class. And this endpoint is pretty simple as well. As I can grab all this thing here because, okay, there we go. This endpoint is going to receive a label, a value, and a background. We're going to grab the label from these.char.data.labels, which is the thing that we define it here. Then the data is the one that we define it here, and then the background colors, which is the one that we define here. We're basically going to be pushing to a label, to the value, and to the background, and we're going to call this.char.update, which is from chart.js. Okay, now with that we have here, we can go back here in our hooks. We can then import this file here. And on the hooks, we can then call the function mounted. I'm going to actually again copy and paste code. That's our mounted. This is going to be called whenever our component is mounted. I think we're consoling log. I think I can remove this thing here. There we go. We're gonna, okay, now let's go for the iteration of our code. So if you recall from our page life.ex, we defined some initial values here, and I'm going to now be showing them here in this table, the first thing that we're going to be using. So let's go back here in my code, and I'm going to do that table data. Table data is equal to data. I'm going to paste this code here once again. 0 to 2 because we have just 3 elements. We are going to create the basic values for labels, values, and background, you know, and then labels. Syntax before labels. What is this GT here? I don't know why this thing happens here, but I think we're good to go now. So we have this basic data. We're going to be creating maps for each of these. So Julius Winfield is going to have 15 and crimson. Marcellus Wallace is going to have 32 and dark magenta. And Vincent Vega is going to have 65 and dark orange. So now we have the values for our table data. And for our chart data, which is something that we are going to be now pushing to the chart here. So let me override this thing here to be table data. And this here is going to be chart data. If you recall correctly, here on our page life, on the bottom here, we are passing to our hook, the chart data. So this is the data that we're going to be paramatched there on the hook. And we are encoding our chart data so that we can receive on the hook. If you go back to the hook, you see here that we are receiving the dataset.chart data. We see that on our page.html, we are passing this thing as chart-data, but on the JS, this is transforming chart data, camel case. And we are pattern match on the values labels, values, and background colors. Okay. And that's how we are going to do our interoperability with the hook. Then we are creating a new pie chart, and we receive these elements is the context of the canvas that we created here for this element here. So this is the canvas, we're passing that there. And I think we can even print so that you can have a better idea what this is doing. So console.log, we can do a this.el. If we go back here and we type in F12, we know that something went wrong here. Unknown hook pie chart. Oh, that's the reason why, because we did not import this thing here in the hook. So let's go for import pie chart. But wait for it. I think that, oh yeah, that's the problem. This is gonna be here in the hooks, and it's not const hooks. This is actually const hooks should be an empty array, and now we should have hooks.pychart. So this thing here should be this one here, and now we go. So now we create a pie chart, and you can see that this dot element is actually passing that element for our JavaScript with those values that we passed here on our live EX template. Okay. So let's go back here, and once again, there we have our initial values for our chart. Now let's create a functionality for passing here an element, a name, and a quantity. So let's put here. Once we save, we're gonna add this dude here on the table and update our chart. Okay. But before that, let's create our chain set. So what we had before, and I'm going to paste the beautiful part of our page line. So if you ever need to grab the final version, this one here is the final version. And for the moment, the only thing you see, we have this chain set, which is not in our current socket, so we have a problem there. And what we are going to be doing here is actually we're going to be assign a chain set, but we're going to be assign a schemaless chain set. So let's say our chain set is going to receive some kind of form validator dot chain set. And we're going to be passing here our form validator with empty string, because we can then do a validation later, and we're going to be passing here no params, but you see that we don't have this form validator. So let's create it here. It's going to be form validator.ex mod, and when I'm going to grab the form validator here as well, I'm going to go through with you. So let me copy this thing here and paste, and then this code here, we need to import the chain set as well. And we finally need to alias the PETAL project web.live. Actually, I think I can remove this live here. It's just that. So form validator. And there we go. We're going to have a label which is a string and a value that is an integer. And we're going to be casting and validate the required fields. Okay. Now we can go back to our page live, and we can alias this thing here at the top. Be the PETAL web.form validator. And there we go. Now we can assign the chain set. And the chain set. And we have our form validation. So now we can create some sort of validation once our file our chain set is valid. You see that now this thing is disabled, because if you check the final code, which is a little bit ugly, is this one here. We have this check function here. If chain set is valid, we're putting background red, else we're going to put background 700. And if the chain set is invalid, we are passing as we are disabling the form. Okay. So now let's create another function here for us prior to sending our chart to the socket. It's going to be a function for validate. So as you can see here, we have a page exchange for validate. So if I type something here And if I check our console, we're going to receive an error because we did not implement the validate function. So let's go and implement the validate function. And it's going to be a handle event. And again, I'm going to copy and paste some code that I have here already. So this is going to be a validate. You can see we have the validate. We're receiving the form validator and the form data. We are passing the form data that we are receiving from the form here, and we are passing the validator and putting the action validate, and then we are putting it back in our form. So if I type here like add, or actually, and I'm going to put here like a, you see we receive this invalid here because this is the error tag that we put here on the bottom. So this is the error tag, and here is the error tag. I think I just need to go to app.scss, and on here I think it's invalid feedback. I'm gonna put margin top of like 10 pixels. I don't know how big this is gonna be, but if I pass a here, and no, I think let's go for margin top of 5 pixels. Maybe that's gonna be good. The validation is not triggering. What was the issue? Oh, maybe. Recompile. Hash. We grab this thing here and put it back here. Margin top. And now if you refresh the page and put an A here, yeah, it was over there. Again, A, yeah, there we go. I think we're good. And so we need to press add, and if I press now 12 here, there we go, we have a valid form. Now we need to create this thing here and finish our project with the handle with the add event to chart. And I'm gonna paste the code once again to this add to chart, and we can go through. So this is our event. And we are going to receive the farm data. We're going to call this function add point socket new data, and this is going to receive our label and our value, which is the two values that we need for our farm data. And then we just need to actually import another private function that I created here at the bottom. This one here, this one here. I just like default browser functions so that I have like some colors. Whoops. And again, we have the assign change set. So because I have refactored this thing here and this thing to another function. And there we go. That's the end of our project. So if we go back here and now we type add and 12 and click on save, this add appear here. You can create another command. So Felipe with like 90 and click save is added to our chart, and we have like live view and JS interoperability. Well, hope you like it, and thanks for watching. Until next time, bye.